Alright, welcome back to another Art of War 3 replay. I'm your host, John Cena, and today we're going to be doing a clan 2v2 battle. I'm going to be the green Confederate player, and my ally Vinith is going to be the blue Confederate player. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to be facing off against two resistance players on this map. We got some early game action going on around the battlefield as we fight for those early game containers for base development. And we can see we're doing a pretty decent job overall of getting some scouting in. I've got some assaults moving around the map trying to secure containers. Meanwhile, we got base development happening early on. Looks like Vinith is going to go for the early shipyard, and I'm going for a shipyard as well, just so we can get some deltas out. Meanwhile, I've secured the large container, and that's going to be nice for getting some extra resources. I'm going to send my fortress over to the yellow player's base. Let's see what the yellow player's up to. So we can see some riflemen from the yellow player, and we can see that yellow is still HQ2 at this time. So we don't have a clean scout yet on the red player, but we know that we're a little bit faster in terms of development compared to the yellow player. So Vinith, meanwhile, is also upgrading to HQ3 at the same time. I've just finished upgrading to HQ3, and right now I'm going to see if I can go for an HQ3 army build. And I've got a 6th and 7th supply center down. We can see that I'm building my infrastructure away from the water. Vinith is getting a nice scout onto the base again for the yellow player. Let's see what yellow's up to. Meanwhile, we got some scouting happening onto the red player as well. So it looks like yellow has finally upgraded to HQ3. And we can see that there's an avia factory there, so maybe some hawks coming into play. We'll see. Meanwhile, I'm focusing on going for a full HQ3 army build. Vinith has a couple vertex out already, which is going to be helpful for getting some air support on the battlefield. Not that much happening right now at the moment, just continuing to build our respective armies. Here comes a hawk from the red player. So it looks like red's got some aviation in play as well. So something we'll have to be mindful of. I'm going to go ahead and produce some typhoons. And we can see that the resistance are getting a nice scout onto my base. They know that I'm going for a ground build. Here comes the Vertex going for a full attack onto that avia factory. And Vinith is doing a nice job maneuvering the Vertex in the back of the base. He's going to be able to clean up that avia factory. Here comes some hawks from the yellow player. But Vinith is going to be able to retreat. And looks like Vinith is engaging in some air combat. He's going to lose one of the Vertex. Is dishing out some good damage, and it looks like he's going to be able to snipe a hawk out of the sky. That's a nice kill for Vinith. Looks like Vinith's Vertex are going to run out of fuel, and that red player's hawk is going to fly over the base. Yellow hawk's coming in. They're going to do some harassment onto my delta there. Meanwhile, just continue to build that ground army. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my special vehicle factory there, just so I can go for some torrents. And meanwhile, just continuing production of hammers and fire assaults mixed together. I'm going to go ahead and now move my ground army towards the center of the map. So now we can establish some map control. And looks like I've got a pretty large ground army set up here. So we may be making a move here soon onto the red player. Vinith is going to move some infantry in for our support as well. Looks like red's got a defensive line set up with those sniper towers. I'm just waiting to get my full army into position. We've got a handful of typhoons here to provide some anti-air support as needed. I just want to make sure we get those deployed first before we launch our full assault. Vertex coming in for Vinith. They're just going to fly in and dish out some damage. We can see there's a defensive line set up from the red player. And those Vertex are taking some heavy fire from those anti-air towers. We're going to go ahead and move in now. We can see that one thing I would have maybe done differently was moving all my ground troops together at once instead of having them split around the two entrances like that. So here we go, our ground forces are now engaging. Yellow's coming in with some Jaguars and Porcupines for support. Meanwhile, my hammer tanks are moving in. They've cleaned up the red player's Jaguars, but now red's starting to produce Grenadiers. This is so far looking good for us, but we're not sure if we're going to be able to break through at this time. Hawks come in from the yellow player to provide some additional air support. It looks like my Typhoons are a little too far to provide the support that we fully want. They're dishing out some damage to those Hawks, but again, it's not enough. we were able to clean up all the vehicles, which is good, so we're able to reset the army count for both the yellow and red players. However, I don't have enough forces to push at this time. I don't want to fight grenadiers with hammer tanks, so now I'm going to go ahead and retreat. So I'm going to go ahead and rebuild my ground army now. And as you can see, I'm also upgrading to HQ4. I just finished the HQ4, so now I have access to some extra command points. And so continuing for a similar build, I'm actually going to mix in a couple of torrents to keep it a little bit interesting. And I tell Vinith to actually go for full Vertex, just so we can get some very strong air support to complement the ground army that I've put together. So we're just able to capture these containers on the battlefield, which is nice. It's going to be some extra resources for us that we can use for unit production and upgrading as needed. So I'm pretty much full at command points at this point. We've got a lot of fire assault and hammer tanks. Here comes some Jaguars, Porcupine, and infantry, but they're going to get pushed back by my fire assaults. And now I'm going to launch another assault. So my army's kind of split up here. My fire assaults are dealing with the infantry from the yellow player, while my hammer tanks move in. So there's a pretty big ground attack. Let's see how this plays out. And it looks like yellow's now trying to come in and reinforce. Here comes some grenadiers from the red player, and that is a very strong defensive line from the red player. I don't think I can actually do a full commitment onto this attack quite yet here. I'm not sure it's a good idea. Vertex are coming in from Vinith to support. They're going to be able to score some hits on those Jaguars, but those Jaguars are very tanky. They're taking some good damage from those Vertex. Hammer tanks are coming in now, and they're going to do some good damage to those Jaguars, but I'm losing a lot of hammer tanks, and the Hawks are coming in to support from the yellow player. So looks like our attack here was not all that successful. That was a lot of casualties. We didn't get a lot done. So I think at this point, the hammers are not quite cutting it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to upgrade some assault vehicle factories. Looks like Reds moved a small contingent over to capture some resources, but there's no anti-air to support, so Vinith is going to be able to score some free hits with the Vertex. Meanwhile, I'm rebuilding my ground army, and now I've got a shield generator mixed into my ground troops here. I've got a decent amount of forces in the center of the map. Again, we're keeping that center map control. We're continuing to produce units so we can keep the pressure going on the red player. Vinith, meanwhile, going for the full Vertex build. Here comes the Vertex, dishing out some good damage. They're going to take out the airfield, and now they're going to take out the assault vehicle factory. And that's going to be a nice bonus for us. So that's going to slow down the production of the red player's Jaguars. So we're just continuing to rally our ground troops to the center of the map now. I'm going to go ahead and move hammer tanks and infantry onto the large resource container. Looks like Red's got a small contingent here trying to capture the resource container, but they're going to get pushed back. And looks like I'm going to be able to secure this container very easily. And let's see if I commit actually to a full assault here. Looks like we got some reinforcements moving in. I've got Torrents deployed on the top of the plateau there for map control. And looks like I am in fact going to go for a commit. Not sure if this is a good idea, but let's see what kind of damage we can do. I've got 2 shield generators mixed into my ground troops here. And again, these Jaguars are set up in a nice defensive position. Here comes the yellow player, dishing out some good damage with those Hawks and the ground army, but Vertex support from Vinith is coming in very clutch right now and is dishing out some good damage against those ground troops. So looks like yellow is going to get pushed back, and it looks like yellow is going to get sandwiched by my Zeus tanks. Zeus tanks coming in to dish out some damage against these Jaguar tanks as yellow attempts to retreat. And it looks like we're able to dish out some damage there, score some kills onto those Jaguars. I've got the shield generator as well on the Zeus tank, so it's making those Zeus tanks extra difficult to kill. And now I'm actually going to move this handful of Zeus tanks and the shield generator onto the red player, and let's just see what happens here. I don't expect this particular assault to break through, but again, we want to keep the pressure going onto the red player. So I've got this shield generator backing up these Zeus tanks, and we're actually dishing out some good damage against these Jaguars. And this defensive line is slowly coming apart for the red player. Red's in trouble here. He's going to need some assistance from their ally. Yellow's coming in now to sandwich my ground troops here. I've got a torrent firing onto the defensive line. But here comes the Jaguars and Grenadiers, and now my Zeus tanks are caught in the middle. This does not look good for my Zeus tanks, and they're going to get cleaned up. I've got a single torrent unsupported right now. It's going to get cleaned up by these resistance forces. Vertex coming in from Vinith. That is a lot of Vertex again. Vinith has gone HQ4 with a full Vertex build, and this is dishing out some very good damage against the yellow player. But Vinith is going to take some casualties. So now I'm continuing to just rebuild my ground army here. More Zeus tanks and a shield generator coming in. Vertex coming in to dish out more damage, and another vehicle factory goes down for the red player. We can see red is only HQ3 at this point. Avia factory is going to go down for the yellow player, and tons of damage against that assault vehicle factory. And the assault vehicle factory is going to go down, and Vinith is going to retreat. He's lost a few Vertex in the process, but again, production structures being taken out is going to slow down the regeneration of their armies. So as I previously noted, red is only HQ3, and I think it's because we've been able to keep good pressure on them, forcing them to continue unit production. We can see there's a small ground army contingent trying to defend here, but look how they just get incinerated by those fire assaults. And this is a ton of heavy armor and a ton of troops. I'm moving what's essentially a full HQ4 army onto the red player. Let's see if red's got anything left to stop me. These Jaguar tanks trying to defend, and a couple sniper towers as well. But again, this is a full army, and there's nothing to stop this army right now. Red's going to need help from the yellow player. What's yellow's response going to be? We're now starting to get to the infrastructure, and we're making our push. And here comes the yellow player with reinforcements, but is it going to be enough? We got infantry, Jaguar tanks, and a porcupine. And now I'm pushing ground forces back onto the yellow player. And it looks like yellow is going to self-destruct their own base. Yellow knows that it is good game at this point, and they are throwing in the towel. So again, we can see that yellow just continue to destroy their base. And the rest of this video is just going to be us demolishing the red player's base and doing a couple contracts. Alright, that's pretty much the end of this battle. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. This is just an example of how you can sustain constant pressure throughout and maintain good momentum to secure victory in a game. And right now we're just finishing off our last little bits of contracts here before we call it. And that's pretty much the end of the video. Hope you all enjoyed it. We will see you in the next one.
Victory.